Yeah, Daniel, of course, Scholia will only show us what Wikidata has. In
Yes.
that sense, how complete is the list of articles on Wikidata? Can you tell us about the effort of just bringing in all that detail?
It's hard to I don't really have good reference points. So let me just bring some reference points. COVID-19. Right now, depending on which source you query, we have on the order of 1,000 publications that are on this particular topic, either on the disease or on the virus or on the pandemic. And most of them are in Wikidata. We are usually late by a few days, maybe 2, 3, 5 days, something like this. So we're reasonably complete on that end. We have another similar epidemiology-related corpus, the Zika corpus, which is similarly complete. So essentially anything about the Zika virus is indexed, like formal scientific publications about the Zika virus. They're indexed in Wikidata and annotated as such. For many other topics, it's much less complete. So for some topics, we might not have any in there, especially like in the humanities or like ancient scripts, these kind of things. Or even if we have the an entry about the publication itself, it might not be annotated as being about a particular topic or as being by this particular author. So we might just have the author name string. Or we might not know what the institution is that this author belongs to, or these kind of things. This kind of curation is rather incomplete in many parts of Wikidata. But the linked open data nature actually allows us to visualize some of those gaps, which is then the kind of information that we expose on the missing page. So certain kinds of things we know we don't know or that need curation. And so those missing pages can help us prioritize curation. And so since this is all linked once, so for instance, if you work on a paper that has been cited, like let's say 5,000 times according to the data that Wikidata has, and then you just tag it with a particular topic that it's about. Until then, it say it didn't have a topic tag. Now you'd say it's about adenocarcinoma. And this means that on the profiles for those 5,000 papers that are citing this particular paper, adenocarcinoma will then show up, or it will show up with one higher number. And the same goes for all the authors of all those papers. This adenocarcinoma will then show up on the profiles of the people who have co-authored the paper that you just tagged. It will show up on the profiles of their institutions. It will show up on the profiles of the authors who have cited these papers, and so on. This is really the linked open data. It might be one edit, and then has ramifications for thousands of other pages. Usually you wouldn't notice that because you don't normally look at 10,000 profiles in parallel. But of course, there are tools that can do this. Or if you know how things work, then you know that these things happen. And that actually makes it quite fascinating, which means that sometimes curation efforts that are quite, let's say, disconnected, they suddenly do connect. So one nice example that just comes to my mind is paintings depicting icebergs. So we have a curation workflow that is about annotating paintings. It's called the Sum of All Paintings, a project that you, Shani, were also involved in to some extent. And yeah. That basically tries to put structured data about the paintings into Wikidata. And so they annotate the paintings as to who drew them, when they were drawn, where they are, what the material was, and so on. All these kind of things you might say about a painting. And one of the things you might say about it is what it actually depicts. And sometimes it actually depicts an iceberg, and then you put that in. And then in parallel, some people are tagging the scholarly literature, and some of them are working on climate change and related issues. And so icebergs and ice sheets, ice shelves, these kind of things, they also pop up in the literature. And then some in a scholarly profile for icebergs, you would then see those paintings show up. Or you could actually also run a specific query. Once you're interested in the matter, you can run a specific query. Give me all the paintings that actually depict an iceberg. And the thing is, if you ask this in art galleries, I've done this with with icebergs and similar topics. I have asked art curators whether they could name some or give me some. And in most cases, they have a hard time. Also, you can ask climatologists. Do you know, even people who have published scientific papers on icebergs, they have a hard time finding paintings about this, although a painting might actually be a very nice conversation starter about icebergs and things like that. But Wikidata has no problems finding those things because it is linked to open data. And those things that are not normally combined, you can easily combine them in a query, and then you get your list of paintings depicting icebergs.
So you've just, I think this was a good explanation to the students of the power of open link data.